Good morning, gorgeous. How are you ladies doing today? I hope you're having a fantastic day so far. Welcome to my channel. I'm Dr. Michelle Daff, and I'm so happy that you're here with me, joining me for another video. Today, we're talking about things that you may do as a woman, as a girlfriend, as a wife that could be very disrespectful to your husband or your boyfriend, or whatever man is in your life. These are just things that you really want to be careful about when you're with men so that you don't accidentally hurt them in ways that you're not even aware of. This is something that I had issues with in the past. The things that I'm going to talk to you about today, I have probably done every single one of them. And it's always nice to have people who are ahead of you in life, who have done things, who have overcome things, to be able to look towards and to hear from. Because, you know, we get it. And we've also been able to overcome and change, letting you know that it's also possible for you, and not to beat yourself up over it or think that you're just this awful person or this completely unaware woman. You're not. You're learning and you're growing and you're changing, and it's beautiful. So I'm happy that you're here today. We're going to talk about 5 things that women should never do around their men. So go ahead and sit back, relax, get something to drink, get something to write with, and let's talk about this.
15,000 things over here, but that one thing, because of your Christian ideology, you are willing to vote against your best interest.
This conversation is amongst Christian women and deconstructing Christian women. At any time during this conversation, if the participants' opinions have changed, then they could sit in these chairs on either side of me.
I believe that Jesus is the one true God, the only one that could set me free in the shame of having an abortion. There was no other person, no other God who could pay that price for me.
I do believe in a higher power. I do not believe in the Bible because it was rewritten to manipulate and control.
Jesus is the one true God. God is with you even in the suffering. He's with you.
Didn't have great experiences in the church. I felt like it was a very toxic environment for me. I am God, because if you look up what I am means, or God, it means I am means God.
So do you believe that there are any religions that are true religions?
Black people. When it comes to Christianity, we're the only ones who, oh, the Bible this, the Bible that.
Jesus of Lubeck was one of the first slave ships in the 1500s, but I believe that religion has manipulated so much to scare and divide us.
Another person's actions are not going to determine my belief system in God, because in the end, we have to work at our own soul salvation.
Now, I'm really happy to do this video during this time of the year, the holiday season, because this is a time where oftentimes you may be with your man at events, at parties, at family gatherings, and there's a sense of comfort and warmth in the air, and that open environment can often be exactly how you end up doing the wrong thing. Because you're so comfortable, because you're so happy, because everything is just flowing, you may end up misstepping and truly causing a major issue that could end up ruining this really nice time of the year. So the first thing we're going to talk about is how you address him publicly. There are things that you may do with your man behind closed doors. You may poke fun at each other. You may laugh at him. You may do things where he is totally fine with it because it's just the two of you. But when you are in public, it is a completely different situation. And he looks to you as his woman to be his cheerleader, the one that is publicly representing as his support. So you would not want to disrespect him ever, but especially not publicly. When you are with your man, belittling him publicly, making fun of him, making jokes about him is extremely painful. And other people may laugh, he might even laugh, but does not mean that it didn't hurt him and that he's not taking away some of that love for you because of what you just did. It can make him see you in a completely different way. And many couples have actually broken up over things like this, where you're out in public and maybe you're making fun of the way that he does his homework, or you're making fun of the way that he walks, or you're making fun of his accent, or you're making fun of a situation that happened. And it starts off like, kind of playful. Maybe it's It's banter, it's nothing too serious, but then you'll say something, or you'll go too far, or you'll reveal too much, or you'll just say something that is just inappropriate. And then it's over. Like, you'll see a complete shift in his mood, a complete change in his demeanor, his attitude, and you've known that you have crossed the line at that point. This disrespect also goes to situations where you're not agreeing with him. So let's say that you're out at a party or something and someone makes a comment about something and your boyfriend or your husband agrees with it and you don't. And the two of you start off sort of maybe arguing about it playfully, but then it turns into a real argument where someone's now getting upset. This can be very disrespectful, especially when it's something that is a little bit more serious or it's something that affects him directly. It's important not to even argue in public. If you have a disagreement with him and you want to talk to him and you're out in public, you can always ask for him to walk you to the restroom or for him to go with you to get some water. And as you're out, you can say, you know, babe, that hurt my feelings, or you can just wait until you're back in the car or you're at home and then address it then. Addressing it in front of other people is the most inappropriate thing that you could ever do. Or making him seem small in front of people. Like, are you seriously going to get upset about that? Oh, okay. Now you're acting like a baby. Oh, you can't handle it. You know, doing stuff like that in front of people is so disrespectful if you see that he's reacting to something that you're saying. The second thing that you should never do in front of your man is to criticize his passions. The things that he reveals to you are private. They're really sensitive. Oftentimes they're things that he probably hasn't told anyone else. Maybe they're dreams that he has and he's conceiving these dreams and he's wanting to share that moment with you. If you start to criticize him, if you belittle the things that he is excited about, you can actually abort that dream. You could actually ruin it for him completely. But most importantly, you could ruin your love. You can ruin that friendship. You can ruin the trust because he will see you as someone he cannot share his life with. He cannot share the things that are the most meaningful to him. Even if he has passions that are very immature to you or just silly, like he is a super gamer and he loves, like, I don't know what they do with the gaming, but maybe they like to like play each other online and do tournaments and go to like gaming conferences or gaming exhibitions. And you just think it is so silly. Well, maybe it is silly to you, but if he is very passionate about this, if he's telling you that he wants to build his own video game and he wants to sell it or he wants to do animations, instead of just belittling him and criticizing his passion and saying, you know, video games are for children. You're an adult, grow up. When you say those kinds of things, you attack the things that he is so passionate about. You are essentially attacking him, and he will hurt over that, and he will remove his feelings, those tender feelings that he has, away from you to protect himself. This is one of the most harmful things you can do. And it actually can happen in the most subtle ways. It may not always be some like grand thing he's telling you. It could just be something minor. But when you criticize it, when you make it seem like there is something wrong with him liking a certain thing or him being very interested in something that you just can't seem to get on with, this can make him feel like you don't like him. So even if you don't share the same interests, which oftentimes does happen, people are always surprised when they're not exactly like their partners, because usually we tend to like people who like what we like. That's how we bond. But in time, you'll see that that may change depending on how long you've been with this man. Maybe if you met as teenagers, you like the same music and the same things, but now that you are in your 30s, your passions have completely changed because you're growing as people, you're evolving. And so realizing that that doesn't make the person bad, that doesn't make the person less than. Don't ever put yourself on a pedestal in any way because someone has different passions and interests than you do. This is one way that you can truly cut off that love tie with him, by making him feel that way. The third thing that women should never, do around their man is compare him to other men. Now, I'm saying do this around your man, but honestly, you shouldn't even do it at all. The things that you do in private, like the conversations that you have in private, they're really tricky. Because when you continue to have a habit of talking poorly about your man behind closed doors, there's a very big chance that it can be overheard, that you can slip and do it while he's there. And it just takes away from your character. If you can't be the same person altogether, you can, compare him to people in your mind. I mean, that's somewhat natural sometimes just to gauge. But when you're constantly doing this as a way to demean him, as a way to discredit his manliness, or to make him appear like he could be so much more than he is in a negative way, in a way that makes it seem like his efforts are not appreciated because they don't match up to what this person's husband's doing, or what your daddy does for you, or what your best friend who's a guy does for you, it takes away from him. One thing that a lot of women do that can be so harmful to their relationship is comparing your man to your ex. That's usually the first person that you go to because you're trying to gauge whether this relationship is better or worse than the one that you had before. Because who wants to downgrade, right? Who wants to go backwards? Who wants to feel like they're getting something less than what they had? But it's one thing for you to kind of see in your mind, okay, this person is different. It's a completely different thing to criticize him for being different than your ex, or saying things like, well, my other man, he used to do this for me. Or, I'm used to guys doing this for me. There is a way that you can say these things that can allow your point to come across in a way that's not disrespectful, in a way where he feels empowered and maybe even excited to do things. But when you are making it seem like he is in the negative, that he is somewhat underperforming or just not measuring up, you are killing your own relationship. And you won't realize you're doing this until he probably says something. And the thing is, when the man says something, it's usually at the point where he's pretty much done with you. Because oftentimes men will hear you say this and they'll listen and they'll just take it in. They'll just take it in until they've had enough. So it's up to you to monitor this about yourself. And be careful that you're not doing this, not just with him, but other people in your life. This can become a pattern where you're comparing your friends, you're comparing your kids, you're comparing your parents, you're comparing. And the person who does the most wins, or the person who does what you want, how you want it wins. And that's just not the way life goes, especially when it comes to loving relationships. We accept people and we understand that they are different and we love them, flaws and all. Of course, we have our expectations, but when you are consistently telling this person that they are not measuring up like so-and-so does, then you can allow that person to feel inadequate and believe that they're just not the ones for you. Clearly, you're not willing to accept them for who they are and allow them to love you the way that they do. You should always share what you want. You should always be clear about your boundaries and your desires and all of those things. But you can do all of those things without comparing him to people in your life. The fourth thing that women should never do around their men is to dismiss his feelings. I've talked about this quite a bit in terms of how this culture in America oftentimes dismisses the feelings of men and make it appear as though men do not have feelings. And because they're not so vulnerable to always sharing their feelings, or because they're not feeling centric as much as women are, that they don't have any, that they don't feel, that things don't bother them. And they do. It's just not what's put in the forefront because that's not how God created them. But men do have feelings. And when a man is comfortable enough with you to share that he feels a certain way about what you did or about something that happened, it is so important to actually take those moments in and cherish them, because it shows how much he trusts you and how vulnerable he is into sharing his true thoughts and feelings with you. Those are special moments that you should be really careful about how you handle them. So I would recommend that if he does share his feelings with you about something, that you honor those feelings and that you take a moment to reflect and pause on those feelings and validate him, or just allow him to speak. Allow him to cry. Whatever is going on, allow him to react. And then take the time to think about what's appropriate response to it and then respond. But never feel like, oh, he's just tripping. Oh, you're just being a baby. Oh, you acting like a girl. Oh, so you got feelings now. Just making it seem like because he is showcasing his emotions that he is less of a man. When you do this, you are risking your own emotional intimacy with him because he is going to withdraw all of it from you. If he can't trust you with that, he's not going to trust you with anything. And then you're going to miss those lovey-dovey reactions he used to have towards you, the kind, loving words he used to speak towards you, the things that he used to say in the beginning before you did these things. He's going to cut it off because you cannot be trusted. So it is important for you to value and validate his feelings and not dismiss them. And the fifth and final thing that women should never do around their man is invade his privacy. I know this one's really hard. I guess they're all probably really hard, but this one can be very tempting if you're in a relationship where you do not trust your man and you think that he is up to no good. You might be tempted to invade his privacy, going through his phone, his emails, going through his social media. Even I don't know if they still have this on Instagram, but I know sometimes they'll have a tab where you can see what your friends liked or what they shared. And if you're going through and saying, okay, whose pictures did he like? And, just all of that where you're monitoring his behavior. If you do not trust him, it is important for you to share that with him and share the real issue. Deal with the real issue. But snooping around and making it appear that you don't have boundaries because you're married is dangerous, because even if you're married, boundaries are necessary for individuality. It's necessary for trust. You may have access to his phone because he says, sure, you can go through it. And in that case, you're not really invading his privacy if he's allowing you to. But it's when there are boundaries that he's put up. He has a password. He has, he doesn't want you going through his things without asking. That's a boundary that he has every right to have. And by you disregarding it, you are saying that you do not value or respect the things that he says. And this can undermine your relationship completely and open you up to so much drama that you do not need. If there is an issue, for one, it's going to come to light. That's just going to happen, especially if you're connected to God and you pray about these things and you trust the Lord to reveal the things that are hidden in the dark to you because you have a relationship with Jesus. You will find out. But even still, you can have those conversations so that you don't feel the need, the desire to go through his things, especially if you've had a history of this being an issue for you. So think twice the next time you want to go through his phone or his emails or his laptop bag or his suitcase or any of his personal belongings. And remember that privacy is important in relationships. Trust is important in relationships. Boundaries are important in relationships. And if you value him, then you will value these things as well. I hope that this was helpful to you and just giving you some things to think about, especially during this time of the year where you may be having more contact than normal and maybe even insecurities and things like that. Please pray about everything. If you're struggling with it, just know that the Lord will help you. He will not bring you to this place just to abandon you. God wants to grow you as a woman and help you to be better and better each time in each relationship. I love you so much and I appreciate you being here with me. So leave me a comment and let me know some things that you believe that you should absolutely never do around your man. Things that could affect him and the relationship. Let us know in the comments below. I love to hear from you. You can listen to my podcast, The Dr. Dav Show, on all podcast platforms. If you love content like this, I do much more there than I do here on YouTube, and it's a really nice place to be able to have these conversations. And if you love fragrance, you can visit my fragrance line, fineforever.com, for beautiful feminine fragrances that will just uplift you and your life. I love you, and I'll see you in the next one. Big kisses. Bye-bye.